Hello, everybody. Today we're talking about FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act. So this act has been around for quite a while, 1930s. It was really passed for a number of reasons, but first for child labor. Child labor back in the 1930s, early 1900s was something that was used quite often, and it's simply unfair. What's unfair both to the child and to the nation is that a child should be going to school, obtaining skills and knowledge so that later on in their life they can do things that are much more productive and they could add to society much more. But if they're working at a young age, they're not doing that, and it's going to stunt their growth professionally since they're not going to have the education and the knowledge in order to do good in the job. So for that reason, child labor was outlawed, one of the reasons, but also it dealt with some other issues, mainly overtime. And so the thought is that if you're going to use an employee for an extended period of time, that their wages should go up the longer they work. Part of the issue is that you need to have balance in your life from the personal and professional. And if you have somebody who's working an exorbitant number of hours, then they're not going to have that balance in their life. And it's not going to be, over the long term, a productive employee. In some ways, you're going to wear that employee out. So there's a disincentive to an employer to work somebody after a certain period of hours during a day and a week. That's when overtime comes in, mandatory overtime. It's usually time and a half after 8 hours. Some states are longer than 8 hours, but it's 8 hours and 40 hours in a week. There's exceptions. Some part-timers can work more than 8 hours a day. Summer workers there's some differences there. Also working for the government, there's some differences there because if you work for a local government, state government, you can't be held to some of the federal laws. So states have their own laws in regards to FLSA as well. But the general nature of FLSA is that in the 1930s, before the 1930s, which is somewhat the heydays of unions, is that there was a tremendous amount of power in the employers. And so to help balance that power so that employees weren't taken advantage of, some of these laws were created. One of them was the FLSA. And it was meant to balance some of the needs since the employees didn't have as much of a say or as much power in an organization. And so by passing some of these laws, that's what it was intended to do. So there's a great aspect, and there's some positivity associated with FLSA. Again, it sets the wages, minimum wages, it sets overtime wages. It deals with children, people who are not 18 but yet are working in the summer or working during school hours. There's limitations for those as well. So it's been a highly productive law that has brought balance to the workplace in regards to employee and employee interactions, has brought fairness in pay to some because employers cannot take undue advantage of an employee. And if they do require an employee to work more hours, then they have to pay them at a higher rate. And so those can be quite beneficial in creating the type of employee who has balance in their careers and in their lives. And those that have balance, which include things like more time for health, more time to eat well, more time for friends and family, all of those go to make an employee a much more productive person in the workforce. Obviously, the goal is not to be too burdensome on an employer. If you make it too expensive to hire somebody, then you cut down on the number of employees, and that's certainly not beneficial to the economy. Balance is important in this law. They don't always get it right, but I think more often than not they do. Hope this is a good primer on FLSA. Certainly look forward to any comments you have. Everybody, enjoy the day.